Thank you for plugging into this Family Life News podcast, streaming issues-driven, family-focused news.
Welcome back to another edition of Hometown Heroes on Family Life. I'm Mark Webster. This week's guest is Dr. Myron Glick, CEO of Jericho Road Community Health Center in Buffalo, providing health care and other services to those who otherwise could not afford them. His road to Jericho Road started in Pennsylvania.
My wife, Joyce, and I were born in Lancaster County, and eventually both of our parents settled in the Mennonite community around Penn Yan in the Finger Lakes region, and eventually I ended up in Buffalo. My parents, when I was 3 years old, they felt a call to go into missions in Belize. And so for the next 10 years, I basically grew up in that country. My dad was a church planter, and my parents did typical mission work in a rural part of Belize where there is not access to good quality health care. And I think that's where I got my desire to become a doctor.
Draw the line for me from Belize to Jericho Road.
It was a big deal as an Amish Mennonite kid to kind of have that vision to become a doctor. It took a while, but eventually I went to Houghton College and then ended up at the University of Buffalo for medical school. My dream all along to that point was to become a doctor and then return to a place like Belize or some other country where I knew the need was great. But during my third and fourth year of medical school in Buffalo, I think it was a God thing. I was exposed to the way the poor were treated in this country by our healthcare system, whether you were on Medicaid or you had no insurance. It was just different than the way you were treated if you had regular insurance. You saw different doctors and different health centers, and you were treated differently. And I was pretty appalled. I think I had been pretty sheltered from that in my growing up years in Belize and then in a pretty closed Mennonite community. And so seeing that in the real world and realizing that you were treated differently depending on whether you had insurance or your background, even sometimes the color of your skin, I just felt the call to stay in the United States. And actually, we had become involved with a Mennonite church in Buffalo. And so long story short, when I graduated from my family practice residency, Joyce and I decided to come back to Buffalo and start a healthcare center in partnership with a Mennonite church at that time. And we called the health center Jericho Road. And that was 26 years ago.
And it's certainly come a long way since then, hasn't it?
We have, yeah. I mean, no question. I was a solo family doctor. The first week, I think we had a secretary and a part-time nurse, and Joyce helped out some, although she was busy also raising our family. And first week, we saw 3 patients, mom and 2 children. So we had definitely had humble beginnings. The first years were definitely challenging, but over the last 26 years, God's been faithful. We've grown tremendously. Today, we have a team of almost 600 people here in Buffalo and across the world. We have 5 health centers here in Buffalo, and we run a homeless shelter for asylum seekers. We have trained family doctors, and we operate 5 health centers in 3 other countries, Sierra Leone, Nepal, and Congo. So yes, the work has definitely grown over the years.
Talk to me a little bit about immigration. It's certainly a hot topic around our country. You see it on the front lines firsthand, helping people who come into the country.
One of the things that happened early on in our work at Jericho Road in Buffalo in the late 1990s is I didn't see it coming. We thought the west side of Buffalo was working class, poor neighborhood, a little bit diverse, but not many people from other countries until the refugees started pouring into Buffalo, first from the former Yugoslavian country and then Burma, Sudan, Somalia, Iran, Afghanistan, so many different countries. And we got involved in providing healthcare to these refugees and filled a big need, and it really fueled our growth. And instead of me going to another country to be a missionary doctor, the world came to Buffalo. Today, of all the people we see in Buffalo, more than half of them don't speak English. And we've developed a very diverse team that reaches out to these refugees. Most of the refugees we take care of are here at the invitation of the United States government. They're on a pathway to citizenship. But then we also operate a homeless shelter called Vive, which helps asylum seekers, many of whom cross the southern border and are on their way to Canada, folks that are looking for a home, a safe place, either here in the United States or in Canada. People have suffered tremendously, leaving horrible situations in their home countries, have had to take long journeys, sometimes years and years of traveling, of dealing with all kinds of setbacks to get to Buffalo. So yeah, we've been blessed in that the world has come to us, and we've had this amazing opportunity to be Jesus, to love our neighbors, to see the humanity in people, not based on whether they're American citizens or not, but based on the fact that we all are created in God's image and we all deserve a safe place to live.
That's Dr. Myron Glick, CEO of Jericho Road Community Health Center in Buffalo, providing health care and other services to those who otherwise could not afford them. Please join us again next week as we search for your home, your town, your hero. It's Hometown Heroes on Family Life.